For those that don't know, ley lines is the idea that across the earth there are these natural magnetic centers that sort of flow as they travel around the globe. A lot of the theories with them say that ancient civilizations purposefully placed their structures and temples on these ley lines even if they weren't conscious of it, as some sort of greater spiritual vision intended for them to, or because it created more symbiosis or what have you. Supposedly, after the nuclear strikes that occurred at the end of World War II, they opened up a secondary set of ley lines. The idea being that such a massive energy expansion at once caused a sort of second plane of ley lines to be unfolded, or we created enough energy to jump up to this next plane of being. And along this new set of ley lines, supernatural events have taken place. Everything from ghost sightings to UFO sightings to Bigfoot encounters and what have you. Basically the idea that the reason supernatural occurrences have proliferated so much in the 21st century and into the 20th century is because we sort of opened the door. Tier 8 is titled The Reality Hacker, and the description reads, "At extreme depths, the very structure of reality as you know it vanishes. Able to control the flow and having mastered the world and those around you, one last question remains. Can you master yourself?" D-patterning is closely related to a concept known as psychic driving. Essentially, psychic driving works like this. It is a concept that by taking a person and making them listen to the same sounds and words and codes over and over, you can begin to work their personality backwards. This is all working off of the idea that a personality is developed by an individual over time and slowly built up as that person grows and matures, which means therefore you can deconstruct it. Or in other words, a means of unlearning learned behavior. There are records of this occurring during the MK Ultra experiments because, of course there are. The theory was that showing someone specific visuals or making them listen to specific audio strands forward, backwards, and every other way will eventually cause them to begin to forget themselves. So that's psychic driving. D-patterning is everything I just said, with electric shock therapy and LSD. D-patterning isn't only trying to reset someone's personality, it's also trying to dig all the way down to their subconscious. The idea being the combination of electric shock therapy and drugs could allow for the observer to speak to the bottom level of a person's psyche. Take that a step further, and some apply this concept to modern media, with the idea being there are very subtle tones and secret messages, and this is similar to backtracking, hidden in a lot of media we consume as a means of keeping us either docile or slowly chipping away at our higher order thinking. Or in other words, your mom was right, too much TV fries your brain. Illuminati are the good guys is exactly what it says. However, to get to the true meaning of it, you have to analyze the Illuminati itself. See, when the original Illuminati began, because it was an actual organization, in the 1700s, the idea was these French noblemen came together in order to start an organization that would allow for the people to more so govern themselves, or at least a small group of people to decide what happens to them. This was done by having members of the Illuminati infiltrate the government and proliferating the ideas that the group wanted across governments and peoples. However, if the original group standard of self-governance is it, then maybe they're not necessarily as evil as we think they are. This theory is saying that maybe this organization's purpose was to make sure the government doesn't get too out of hand. And considering what governments have been capable of throughout history, perhaps there needs to be a group of people to keep them in check. So, therefore, all of the hate we know about them, or ideas of the Illuminati being evil devil worshippers, would be the result of centuries-long smear campaigns against the group proliferated by governments. And this demonization that they have done against the organization would be a means of making themselves seem the good guys in a historical context. The Illuminati, of course, assuming they do exist, would have to exist from the shadows and therefore cannot defend themselves openly. So think of it this way. If the Illuminati is real and they're working behind the scenes of world governments in order to proliferate the small group's idea, then who's to say they're the bad guys? Because, you know, it's not like a government would lie to us about a group of people who they don't like. I mean, the government doesn't lie, guys. Like, come on. Demolition Elves refers to sightings that have happened across the world that before and after disasters, people have seen these small creatures at the site of the event. Historically, description of these things match up with that of trolls and elves, either short, stumpy creatures that don't have human proportions, or these impossibly skinny figures that seem to dance across the rubble of whatever building just collapsed. The most famous examples of this being 9/11 and the Silver Bridge incident, which after both of them, several witnesses reported seeing small people crawling across the rubble. Theories of these creatures range from everything that they are these evil sort of demons that enact natural disasters in order to be bad, I guess, or that perhaps these things are summoned by the parties in question to get across whatever motive they want. Or perhaps these things are summoned by the parties that actually committed the disaster, because if you think about it, if you believe in demons and you think demon summoning's real, then who's to say that people wouldn't use those capabilities in order to do not so nice stuff. War is fake isn't saying that no wars ever happen, just the motivations for them. A lot of this relates back to shadow organizations and things like the Illuminati, because if there's things that exist in the supernatural realm that the regular people don't know about, but these higher elitist rings do, then it makes sense that there would be battling of some kind over them. And if that's true, then several of the wars throughout history that we as the public know for being over money or land or what have you could actually be over these more important ideas. Like what I talked about a couple tiers back, the US didn't invade Iraq for oil, it was for the Stargate, obviously. I'm just gonna start like a history series on this channel where I take tragedies throughout history